All right. Well. We are here. Herb Lewis and I, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the controversial counselor, is back for another live discussion, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube in the Counselor's Corner from the StreamYard platform. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like and share this video. So that link is actually in the chat. So for you to subscribe, so just click on that, hit subscribe, hit the bell so that you can get notifications. Last week, we discussed part 2 of our self-love theme for this month. Do you really know yourself? So tonight, we will be discussing part 3 of self-love, your obituary. Are you living your life with purpose? And many people will feel that they're living their life with purpose, but some people are just existing instead of living. So we'll go into more details and talk about that. And I know you probably think, who are you to judge? Who are y'all two to say anything about how I'm living? I don't think we're going to get all into that, but just to throw out a couple pointers so that you could possibly think, as we work towards the future. All right, now that we have learned who and why we are the way we are, let us look at how we are viewed by the world. We are born, and of course, obviously, we die. Death is guaranteed. Before we do pass on into the next realm, let's discuss what people will think of us as we lay in our impact upon the world. So death is one of those absolutes that we know that's going to happen. It's inevitable that it's going to happen. So it's all about what you do between the dots. So for me, born in 1970, and you had those dots in between, what impact has you made on the world? Are you living with purpose? What legacy will you possibly be will leave behind? And what will people say about you? We have someone, Lakia, in the studio. I'm going to bring her on in a second. And I know for me, I gave this survey about are you independent yesterday. And I know some people wanted, inboxed me and wanted their results. So I'm going to go over that quickly. And if you didn't take the survey, it's an opportunity for you to take out your a pen and a paper and we can go through it right quick. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but let me get her in. I don't want to be rude. Hey, Lakia, how you doing?
I'm good, and you, David?
I'm fine.
Hey, Herbert, how you doing?
Good evening.
So I'm gonna go over this right quick. It's like 12 questions, and of course, this still ties in whether independent, because a lot of times, as we live and exist, are we independent to handle our own business, or are we solely dependent on others? These questions may not seem like they have anything to do with it, but it's just to kind of gauge you on certain situations. So, number one, friends and people whom you respect assure you that a certain sort of music is wonderful. You hear it once and dislike it. Do you pretend to like it? That's A. B. Openly show your distaste. Or C. Keep an open mind and listen to it again. So I'm going through it, but I'm just going to tell you the results, and you can then I'm going to tell you how to kind of tabulate your score. So when I gave it to certain people, these were the results. 52.9% of people said they would openly kind of state their distaste for the music, and 47% said they'll keep an open mind and listen to it again. All right. Number two, your best friend, husband, or wife is flaunting an affair with a younger partner. Friends find this amusing. Do you, A, advise the offending party at least to be discreet? B, tell your best friend? C, join in the secret laughter? So the responses were 76.5% of the people said they would tell their best friend. 17.6 said they'll advise the offending party at least to be discreet, and 5.9% said they'll join in the secret laughter. It's a damn shame getting personal entertainment off of people that's getting cheated on. Number three, sex is for you. A way of exerting yourself and gaining pleasure. B, a way of surrendering yourself and giving pleasure. And C, a way of attaining all of these. So the answer was 94% of people said kind of like both. They want to assert themselves and gain pleasure, but also give pleasure. And 5.9 said a way of surrendering yourself and giving pleasure. All right. So number four, crowd roars in its approval or speech. Do you A, automatically mistrust the crowd impulse? B, get caught up in the crowd's approval? Or C, buy the text and go home to consider? And the answer was 64.7 said they would buy the text. 29.4 said they would get caught up in the crowd's approval, and 5.9 said they would automatically mistrust the crowd's impulse. So number five, how often do you leave the phone off the hook or your cell phone turned off? A, often on holidays in restaurants in the or in the bath. B, never. It could be important. C, seldom. You like to keep in touch. So the answer to that was 41% of people said never. It could be important. 35.3 said seldom. They like to keep in touch. And then 23.5 said often on holidays in restaurants and in the bathroom. They turn their cell phone off. Number six, in a restaurant, you are served food which is cold, over salted, or plain revolting. Do you A, summons the waiter and quietly asks to have the dish replaced? B, say nothing for fear of a roll? And C, say nothing until the end of the meal, then assist on a reduction in the bill. So, ironically, everybody pretty much said they're going to summons the waiter 100% and quietly asks to have the dish replaced. Number seven, solitude for a full day or evening is A, intolerable without the radio, television, and telephone. So, meaning that people pretty much they got to have on a day of peace, they got to have radio, telephone, or television. B, a delight, a chance to think and to recharge the batteries. And C, intolerable, inducing a sense of failure. So the answer were 94% of people said it's a delight, a chance to kind of recharge their battery, and 5.9 said it's intolerable without the radio, television, and telephone. We're almost done. We're on number 8. Your partner's invited on a company trip. You are A, delighted for him or her and looking forward to seeing non-mutual friends. So basically, you're going to take that time to spend time with your friends. B, you're resentful. You will head down to the travel agent on your own account. And C, outwardly supportive, but storing up recriminations for future use. So 100% of people said they would be delighted for him or her and looking forward to seeing non-mutual friend. What lies, 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 lies.
Really?
Some of y'all know damn well y'all will be jealous. But all right. Number 9, worry is a horse which you whip, but only circles. You worry A, never. B, only when it can lead to solutions. And C, all the time. 70.6% of the people said they only worry when it can lead to solutions. 17.6 said they said never, and then 17.6 people said they worry all the time, and 11.8 said never. Another lies, lies, lies. But anyway, you are hard pressed for money. A bill arrives in the mail. Do you leave it unopened until you can pay it? B, open it and fall into depression. C, open it and instantly telephone the sender to proposed terms of settlement. So 82.9 people said they'll open it and kind of contact the creditor and try to work out a settlement. And 17.6 said leave it unopened until you pay it. And no one said they'll go into a depression. Number 11, a lever is a necessity, a luxury, or part of the furniture. Wow, part of the furniture. Sounds like a Melvin or a couch potato to me. But number 11, B, was 76.5 people said it's a luxury to have a lover, and 23.5 said it's a necessity. And number 12, music is to be heard while doing other things or to be listened to alone for B, or and C, to create an atmosphere when with others. So 64% said it's to be heard while doing other things. B and C actually both were 17.6, to be listened to alone or to create an atmosphere when with others. So that was the survey. Now, I don't know if y'all might be getting bored with this or not. I don't know if y'all want to actually hear the actual results or you want to wait till later and get the topic going.
Well, it'd be good to be able to tabulate it. So what is each letter?
All right. So let me go to that, and this should only take a few minutes. So for number 1, if you chose A, it's worth 1 point. If you chose B, it's worth 3 points. If you chose C, it's worth 2 points. So you put whatever you have in there. Number 2, A was 2 points, B was 3 points, and C was 1 point. Number 3, A was 3 points, B was 1 point, and C was 2 points. Number 4, A was 2 points, B was 1 point, and C was 3 points. And number 5, A was 2 points, B was 3 points, and C was 1 point. Number 6, A was 2 points, B was 1, and C was 3. Number 7, A was 3, B was 2, and C is 1. Number 8, A is 2, B is 3, and C is 1. Number 9, A is 3, B is 2, and C is 1. Number 10, A is 3, B is 1, and C is 2. Number 11, A is 1, B is worth 2, and C is worth 3. And number 12, A is 3, B is worth 2, and C is 1. So then you just add up your scores, and I can tell you. Go ahead.
I missed number 7. What was it? I can't remember what the answers were again.
As far as tabulating or the answers for the actual thing?
The answers for the actual thing.
Number 7 was solitude for a full day or evening is A, intolerable without the radio or television or telephone. B, a delight, a chance to think and to recharge your batteries. And C was intolerable, inducing a sense of failure.
Okay. And what's number in that letter was how many for the letters? What was the numbers again? I'm sorry.
A is worth 3, B is worth 2, and C is worth 1.
Thank you.
And while people are figuring that out, I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to read something that the Dalai Lama had said regarding death. He said, "We cannot hope to die peacefully if our lives have been full of violence or if our minds have been mostly agitated by emotions like anger, attachment, or fear. So if we wish to die well, we must learn how to live well. Hoping for a peaceful death, we must cultivate peace in our minds and in our way of life." Just something I figured I'd throw out there. Had it written down. I figured, why not make it part of the fabric of the show?
All right. So if so anybody could tell me what their scores were? Their total
think-
score?
28.
Okay, 28. I don't know if Anita, if you had a chance to do it. All right. I don't know, Herb, if you had a chance to do it.
See.
No, I didn't type it. I just took the quiz.
So I'm gonna wait for Lakia to come back. But all right, so Herbie, if you want to give us more, okay, I think she's coming back. All right,
I'm
so
back. Sorry.
so you're the only one who what's your score? So well, briefly, I'll give all of them, and just in case. Gwendolyn said I didn't have a pen and a paper. Shame on you. Shame on you that you don't have a pen and a paper. If you score
Top of this month, you're gonna need.
If you score between 12 and 19, it is sad to be so dependent upon others, yet so aggressive and moody as to alienate most people upon who you might depend. Resentment, fertile worrying, dwelling upon grievances, and in need of constant internal stimulus. Your very need makes you a victim, and so the cycle goes on. Only you can break it. Your temperament, of course, is in part innate, but the emotionally intelligent born worrier starts by recognizing that while worrying has a purpose, it has a place. The love is wonderful, but that's when it is not around. There is more to life. And that stubbornness through splendid with applied to arduous tasks has no merit whatsoever when applied to ordinary social interaction. Carmenta, compartmentalize, devote set time to resolving the causes of worry, other times to reading and thus becoming other people. Above all, devote time to silence and walking or meditating. Make a life of yourself, and so recognize that others have their own lives and cannot devote them to you. So it sounds like pretty much saying that you kind of needy. You need to get your own life. You far too dependent on others, and that's that. Like you got to find some time and kind of create your own happiness. If you score between 20 and 27, communicative, gregarious when necessary, yet afraid of silence and solitude, you would seem to be sufficiently confident at once to assert yourself without insecure aggression where suitable and to be happy in your own skin, even when alone. Okay. And if you score between 28 and 36, you seem fiercely independent, assertive, and constantly busy, but it would seem that in your own way you are tied up in yourself and dependent upon others' responses to you as a favorable or unfavorable as the eternal victim. It is time to take a holiday from the nonstop.
Sorry
So
about that.
So you said you scored what, 28?
28.
All right. So let me read this over quick. It said, and you seem fiercely independent, assertive, and constantly busy, but it would seem that in your own way, you are tied up in yourself and dependent upon others' responses to you as favorable or unfavorable as the eternal victim. It is time to take a holiday from the nonstop assertion of self. After all, if you are content with yourself, why does it need asserting? Independence and true independence may be concerned with others' welfare, but not with others' opinions. So does that sound about right for you?
I think so. I care less, not care less, but you have to get in that mindset when you're busy living, not to care what other people think and to be free to be yourself. Yeah. And I am very independent. I was the only child, so being the only child is always only me. So, yeah.
Okay, makes sense, and that's part of living too. Whatever. So you said the key word being free. Some people live a life and they're never free, and they're always dependent on others for every move they make. So imagine living your life like that and never being free. And like, as you can see, the difference between scoring between the 12 and 19, when you constantly dependent on someone, you have no life. Your life constantly revolves around what other people do, and then you have 28, 36. So I guess 20 to 27 is like a median between both. Um,
hmm
so that's that on that survey. So if anybody got any other questions, feel free. Somebody said, "Could you read mine?" I hope I wasn't the first one. I
He needs
just
a super photo.
Yeah, I just read them all, and I mean, if you want, after you tally up your score, you want me to summarize it, I can inbox you your results later. But we're gonna move on with the regular scheduled program. So, Herb, the table is yours.
All right. We had the first 2 weeks. We have focused on what it is that individuals may or may not understand and know about themselves. So this week we are going to move on to the next process of putting your best foot forward and who you are. And I'll say that again, who you are, because a lot of us think we know each other, know ourselves, and as we're coming to find out, some of us really don't know ourselves as well as we do. It reminds me of a song by Billy Joel called "The Stranger," and it's a song that I have a personal affinity to. And if you want to pull it up on YouTube and listen to it, take what you want from it. Like Kevin Samuels say, eat the meat, spit out the bones. But I'm pretty sure most of us have heard of the Pitchman for the Dos Equis guy, and he's branded as the most interesting person in the world. Now, if you had to write your own obituary, nobody else but you, and somebody was to read it in the paper, would they say, "Man, I wish I met this person. I wish I lived this person's life," or would they say, "Sounds like something sounds like somebody I wouldn't want to meet"? Have you done things in your life that are noteworthy? Have you been an author, ran for political office, volunteered, belonged to a civic organization? Have you done anything that's been noteworthy in your life that would draw people to you, that would make you want to be the center of attention or the life of a party, if you will? What have you done that would be considered great for you? Not in terms of a world perspective, because a world perspective of great could vary from having kids to running a marathon to competing in sports to winning a major championship in sports, or to competing in some other sports that has a global platform. So what are some of the things that you've done in your life that you would look back on your life if you were laying on your deathbed? Somebody has something playing in the background.
Yeah,
We're
so
not organized.
so if you got a TV or
We got
I don't
So
know.
what are some of the things that you've done in your life that people would say, "I wish I'd done that," or "I wonder what that's like"? So these are just some of the things that we're throwing out there. We're throwing out there just for you to compile and look at your life in totality, as if you didn't have enough time or much time to do anything. Because the sum total of your accomplishments will determine if you lived the life well or you just lived life. Right now I'm I'm in the process of getting my passport so I can travel abroad. And for me, traveling abroad, I'm talking about going to Africa, traveling through all of at least Western Europe. Hopefully I can get to Russia. That's that, depending on the political climate, that may be something I may not want to do. Over there, Putin's over there running roughshod, it seems, and I don't want to be thought of as an American dissident.
Take your ass to Russia if you want to.
The golden top of the Kremlin has always intrigued me. It kind of reminds me of, as big a Michigan fan as I am, it always reminded me of the golden helmets of Notre Dame. So that was always something I always thought was cool. And when I see pictures of it, when I see people in Moscow and they're within range of the Kremlin, and I see it, I was like, I wonder what it's like to actually just stand there, just like I do any other major landmark. Whether it be the pyramids of Giza, the Eiffel Tower, gondolas, in Rome. I'm sorry, gondolas in Rome or Italy, if you will. I just wonder what that's like. I want to visit Amsterdam. I want to be able to go to the countryside in England, walk through some of the vintage castles. Those are all the things that I want to do. You know,
So is
so
this a
I'm
question that you're asking us to answer, or you just
no,
wanted to just expound on it yourself? Okay.
no. This is how you view your own life when you are on your deathbed. If you had to write your obituary, what would people think if they read this obituary? Would they say, you know what, this is something I want to try, or this is something that I want to do, or this is the person that sounded like they had a fantastic life, like they've done everything that there was humanly possible and available to do? Because you have some people who work an entire life and they've done nothing. They've been nowhere. They work to live, and I think that's just a terrible way to have a life. Who wants to spend their entire adulthood working just to pay bills and never having done anything?
So is this something that you want us to dialogue with you
No,
about?
yeah, I would like to hear some of your responses.
I was just trying to wonder, is this like a back and forth conversation? This being my first time on with you guys, and I didn't know if we should jump in or not.
No,
Oh
go ahead.
no, you
Go ahead.
can. I mean, it lends itself to a little bit of a thought process about what you've done in your own life versus what you want to do.
Right. Well, I don't know. I saw that question on the counselor's corner posted about what would be on your obituary, um and I said being a mother, but I guess that's just anybody can be a mother, which in my opinion that's not true. Sorry, excuse my dog. But if I want to say like academically or as far as in life, Casper, sorry. I open up a restaurant in Niagara Falls. A lot of people aspire to do that. They aspire to open a restaurant. I apologize because he does not bark usually unless somebody's at my door. So I apologize for that. So hopefully nobody's at my door. Um, but I opened up a business. A lot of people want to be, people want to be entrepreneurs, business owners. I've um, graduated from college. That was good, I guess. That was a great thing for myself. So that hopefully I obtained my real estate license. Um, becoming a broker. So hopefully I can have my own brokerage. One day. I'm sorry, that is not like him. And another thing that I've sat on boards, with Legends Park Board, NOAA. I'm the second VP of a non-for-profit organization. I have a slew of stuff. I've supervised. I've done so many things. So I don't know. I guess but does that really? But that's where I guess that my conflict, and I said, in my opinion, about being a mother, like those things are great, but I have probably impact some people's lives, but the most important people that I want to impact is my family. And if to me, like charity begins at home. If I can't be effective in my home, everything else is null and void.
But it seemed like also when you think of obituaries that they talk about some of the other, some of the things you did, like were you active member of church, like you said, volunteer, community service. Then they have a little part about you were survived by your children and stuff like that. So it seemed like most of the meat and potatoes of what it is things that you have done, where you have worked for years and stuff like that. Yeah, I got a lot going on tonight. Man.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you making all that damn noise.
Oh, okay.
I was
I'm
wondering.
trying.
I'm like, that sounds like somebody
No,
calling the shot.
I was getting some homemade soup that my friend made.
uh,
Sorry, guys. Is it still loud?
no, it's not loud now. You good?
Oh, okay. Um, that sounds amazing that you did all that stuff. I can't even see your name. Lakia?
Yeah, that's
Hello?
my name. Yep, Lakia.
Oh, okay. That sounds amazing that you did those things. And I think that your family would admire that about you, that you were very like willing to do things that a lot of people would not ordinarily do, I guess I would say. Like you experienced things that people think of doing but they don't do. So that's amazing, I think. Amazing.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. You know, I have always kind of been a go-getter, just out to try a little bit of anything, or not anything, but just want to try, because I always feel like you got to step out on faith. And I'm active in my church. I do so many things, and that's why that description was on point, because I am involved a lot. I am busy running here and there, because I like to help people. And I help at my church. I do the media at my church. I sing the praise team. Wherever I can find my hands to do, I do, because I enjoy helping people, but also be resourceful. And I think to be resourceful, you have to be able to be willing to step out to be a help to somebody else.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
Like you don't know what you don't know until you know. Until you learn, learn about life, learn about other things. And I think that's important. That's an important part of being in a small community, a small town, is that everybody can add to the piece of the pie. Like we're all individuals and we can all add something to the pot. Does that make sense?
yeah, it makes sense.
Like we
And
can all learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
true. And one of the things I like what Greg said, he said maybe it's not what your obituary would say about you, because they are always glorified. Even the worst person is made to sound good when they die. And I think that is true. Like no one ever has a bad
That is true.
obituary, and you're always gonna spice it up, even though deep down inside, many people may say, man, that person was, full of crap, or they were useless, or all types of words that you say when somebody's alive and you having conversations with people. But then all of a sudden, it changes when they die, and that's probably out of respect for the family. We see that on social media often when somebody dies, and all of a sudden this person becomes glorified and stuff, and you look at like, wait a minute, okay, my heart aches for the family. I know certain members of the family, but certainly all of this banter that's going on here, I don't know if that person brought all that to the table. I could be mad if I'm
Well,
saying that.
that comes in with what kind of relationship you had with that person. I think people have different relationships with the person that died is not going to all have the same experience with that person.
Right.
So even though that person might be a shitbag to you, I mean, to me, that person may have had some. I mean, everybody has some good qualities. You just don't always see it. Like I
Well,
always have good intentions, but a lot of times my good intentions don't come across that way.
well, that begs the question, and I'll read this statement by the Dakota people, Dakota, the Native American tribe. It says, "We will forever be known by the tracks we leave." So if you're leaving a mixed bag of tracks as you walk through your life, and this is for anyone, this is not directed at a particular person. What do your tracks say about you? Because ultimately, your legacy is not necessarily going to be dictated by you, by what you do, say, or what you leave behind. It's going to be dictated by the lives you impacted, whether it be negatively or positively. And I think that's what a lot of us, a lot of people just don't really understand. They'll say, "Well, I lived a good life," but if we would go to ask your ardent enemies, what would your ardent enemies say? And that's how I always look at myself. People who I've done good for. I expect them to speak glowingly of me. But I always tell people, go ask the people who say I've wronged them and ask them what they say, because then you'll get the honest and unvarnished opinion, even if it's a little jaded. Some people say, well, they have an axe to grind. And the question becomes, well, why do they have an axe to grind if you were a good person? If you're a good person, nobody should have an ill word to say about you. They will say, you know what? I wronged that person and I understood why that person did X, Y, and Z, and so on and so forth. But often we don't want to take accountability for the wrong we've done to people. So when somebody says, well, I don't like that individual, they say, but why? I never did anything. Well, did you ever stop to ask that individual if you did something wrong to them? Because a lot of people won't. They'll say, well, no, I'm not asking. They'll dig in their heels. They'll become stubborn. They'll become petulant, and they'll say, well, you know what? I'm not doing it. I'm not apologizing. Because I didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't my fault. As opposed to, and this is the one thing I always tell my mentees. I say, this is the one thing above all that any leader takes, and this is why they're in the leadership position, is they're accountable for what happens in their life, good, bad, or indifferent. They say, you know what? Everything starts with I. I will do better. I'll speak to them. It's my responsibility. It's my fault. And a lot of people run from those two words, my and I, because that becomes a heavy, heavy burden for a lot of people to carry. And a lot of people are willing to carry that burden. And it's not an easy thing to do. You know, they always say heavy is the head that wears the crown. This is why I've been asking people over the last, almost 12, 13 months now that we've been in this pandemic, is what is in your utility bill? Have you taken this time that if you've been in lockdown, I know some of us haven't been, I've been working consistently through, so I really haven't had any time to do anything other than what I've been doing. Have you taken the time to improve yourself? Have you added to your utility bill? Have you went out and picked up another language, taken another course, improved yourself so when this all passes, you can step out and take advantage of that opportunity? And this brings me to another point. There's a gentleman named Kevin Samuels, and I've mentioned his name before, and he's blown up over YouTube. I mean, just blown up. But he's been honing himself for the last 4 years. And the pandemic has presented him an opportunity, and he was in the position and prepared to grab that opportunity, and he is making the most of it. My hat's off to that young brother. He's doing a yeoman's job, and you'll see me post. Matter of fact, tonight I posted in the Counselor's Corner and on the other page a snippet of a conversation he was having with a woman. And his show airs three nights a week. I think it usually starts at 10:30 and it'll run anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours. And he talks mostly to women who are looking for a particular type of man, and that's the men that he caters to in terms of being a corporate image consultant. So that's just a snippet of what he does there. But like they say, opportunity is what happens when you're prepared. I'm sorry, success is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And he was prepared, and now he's reaping the benefits of being prepared. So I always tell people, what are you doing to improve yourself?
May I ask you, did you say, oh, sorry to cut you off, Herbert, I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask you, you said you haven't been able to do something. What was the part you said you weren't able to do because you've been working already?
Pandemic. My life has not changed one iota. I've still been working 40 hours a week. I've still been sitting on my position as the treasurer for the Niagara Falls Community Alliance. Oddly enough, which started about this time last year, I just got an email that gave us congratulations for being in Lionism, as they call it, for a year. And we've had a tough go of we haven't been able to meet any of our fundraising goals. And that another organization that I'm looking to put together, which is a mentor organization. This year, I'm looking to raise between $5,000 and $10,000 so I can start classroom operations for the mentoring aspect of the program, and I'll discuss that sometime on another show because we're going to be running up against the clock. Because I don't want to be at that point. But,
so we got
somebody said something.
So we got Scorpio T on here. How you doing?
What up? What up? What up? What up?
Not much. How you been?
No complaint.
Hmm.
other than the smoke.
So I don't know how much you heard. You got anything you want to add? I like to bring people when you're in, when, when you've been waiting. I like to bring you in to be a part of the conversation.
Well, I was listening to what you all were saying about people speaking well of you once you pass, and what would your legacy be? And I think it's a little bit unrealistic to think that everyone is going to speak well of you. That's just not possible. There are going to be people you just want to get along with, and there are going to be people that are just going to have an ought against you just because. I heard a saying that says one heart is connected to many heartbeats, which is also true. So your legacy is basically, it's going to be what you download into people is the thing that they'll remember. What you help them through is the thing that they'll remember. And some people will remember how you hurt them. But even in death, everybody's still not going to think highly of you. So that's something that you have to be able to be at terms with. And, you're supposed to improve yourself every day. But to me, improving yourself is not a measure of education. It's a measure of personal victories in your life. For example, if you're a person that has a lot of anger, learning to curb your anger and pick and choose your battles, that's a measure of working on yourself and a measure of success, in my opinion. That's
So
it.
So with that saying, you said as far as people with education, and I might slightly disagree with that because sometimes people may be the first person in their family or the chips were stacked against them. That is no way that you would think they would go on to get a bachelor's, a master's, or whatever, or some type of certification. And despite it all, they overcame it, and that's part of growth for them.
Yeah, I'm not negating that education. And what I'm saying is that that's not the only factor that measures into growth. You understand what I'm saying? Um, Going to college, improving your education is always a factor, but it's not the only factor, is what I'm saying. Um, you have to celebrate the other victories in your life because once you get those personal
Listen now on the
skills and
Amazon
levels
Music
out
app.
your way, then you can build in other areas. You know what I'm saying? Like that's those are your first stages generally. But education is definitely a measure of growth. It's just not the only one.
No, it's
And
not.
yeah,
It's
that's why I agree with her on that because, like, what is it for? Like, it's great to have education, because it helps get you to where you're trying to go in life. But at the end of the day, I do believe everything that happens in your life is for a purpose. So, what was that purpose for? You're obtaining your education because there's people that have a degree that's doing nothing with it. There's people, that's not even operating in their degree, and that's true. And that is a great step for someone to take, and um, you know, an accomplishment to obtain your degree. But because it takes hard, dedication, and you're in it on your own. You have to put the work in. But what was the whole purpose? Like, sometimes some things is driven um, for the wrong reasons, and actually it wasn't for what it was. Like, what is it for? That's all I'm trying to say. What was it for? It could be to null and void. So I think with like this dialogue about what you have accomplished in life, um, great. But at the end, and me being a Christian, we always say, only what you do for the Lord will last. And that's like, and that principle for us is coming from, love thy neighbor as I love thyself. Like, what are you doing for your neighbor? What have you done? What have you poured out that, you know, um, that can be a help to somebody else? So what was the whole purpose behind it?
now for some
That has a lot of truth. Okay, you haven't been on the show before with me, but I said some times ago that I ran a daycare for quite some time, and I seen one of the young ladies who was one of my babies at the time. She was with me, I think, from maybe about the age of 0 to 8 or 9. And so she said something to me that really just like blew me away. I used to take them to get little ice cream cones from Dairy Queen on hot days. You know what I'm saying? Just because it was hot and I just wanted them to have it. Basically, she said, I think that was one of the nicest things I ever remember anybody doing for me,
Mhm.
which really kind of blew me away that something that simple can make such an impact. So yeah, what you download into people,
Right.
or input or whatever word you so choose to put there, I think sometimes that lasts a lot longer than she obtained a master's degree or she
Right.
has 3 bachelors or 4 or whatever,
Right.
because if you can't put what you learned into action, you just a person with a lot of knowledge. And
Right.
wisdom is the application of knowledge. So those things. Like I was listening to the young man that y'all, I think Dave, that was your brother, and him talking about the book and what led to it and what led to the format and everything like that. So he gave you really a walkthrough, and some of the things he said will stick with people forever. So that's it.
But what I want to say is like, well, sometimes when y'all said education, like Lakia, you said, so at the end of the day, what does it do? Well, sometimes people use it for a better quality of life, and and you may say, okay, I struggled, I struggled with my parent growing up. We struggled. It was a struggle. So I know for myself that once you get older and you say, well, I gotta always take it to another level, because when I have children, I want I want more. I want to be able to do better. So some people use education as a vehicle for a better quality of life. And it doesn't work that way with everyone, but some people, that's what they utilize it for.
Right.
And
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 that's
I
sometimes
true.
and sometimes education or a particular major that they go for may be a calling from something they may did when they were younger. And you say, okay, I got to go. In order to do this, I know I'm going to have to go get this certification because I'm good at what I do. And I've always done that since I was a kid. So it makes sense for me to
Right.
become, for me, a counselor, or some people a nurse, or accounting, or whatever degree or whatever purpose that you felt was your destiny.
and I would caution people to be careful of how we utilize the term education. We tend to use education in a singular phrase or in a singular manner, meaning knowledge acquired from a book. And there's a lot of people out here who have lived and walked this earth who have never been formally educated, but that can walk circles around those who have spent their lives in academia. So just be
Absolutely.
conscious of how that term education is used, because a lot of people that don't have formal education, when they get in certain circles, are made to feel inferior until they actually come into a field that they can dominate. We have farmers out here who have never stepped foot in the classroom, but that could feed a state. We have
Right.
people out who have master's degrees, couldn't tell you how to grow a kernel of corn. So just be careful how you wield that term.
And
And you know
I think
what?
life
I
is
bet
it.
you ain't
Life
gonna
is
believe for this.
Yeah. Life is an
I
experience.
agree with you, Herb.
Yeah. 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 I do too. I agree totally with you as well.
Right.
Because I feel like life is an education itself. It's learning. You're learning. Education is about learning, like you said. Anything you experience in life is 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 educating you. You know. And that's what I'm just striving to say. And I get what you're saying as well, David. That is like for me when I think about I'm right now, real estate is my profession. Why did I go into real estate? I have no idea. But one thing I do remember is that I loved houses. I would drive by houses and just enjoy looking in people's window to see how they home looked. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna try being a real estate agent, see how it goes. And one now I'm with an organization that helps people. Now I see why I'm in that profession. I see why I was drawn to it, because now I'm at a place where I can help people, and it's rewarding. And I don't get paid like other real estate agents get paid. I get paid a flat rate. I can go and take my profession somewhere else and get paid way more than what I'm getting paid now. But I feel good in what I make because I'm helping people. It's rewarding. And that's what I'm saying. If you get an education, great. So will you take that education? And I feel like now that because I got my education, I got the certification, become a real estate agent. Now I'm an agent. Now I'm working in something I enjoy doing, and I'm helping people. On top of it, I'm making good money. You understand? So it's like I think it goes hand in hand when you think about, okay, when you're pursuing your education, what is not just for yourself, what can you do with that education to and like as Herb said, using that term, in a broad sense, what is it ultimately for, other than just myself and my family, first
Well,
starting with my family, but what else can I do with it to help somebody
well,
else?
ultimately, 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 you want to do something as far as providing service to others. Let me just read you this, and like I said, this kind of summarized on why why I got into counseling or got into the helping profession. I'm not gonna mention his name in there. What is all that noise?
I have no idea.
Someone needs to mute their computer.
So I'm not going to mention his name, but it said, I'm from Niagara Falls, New York. I can recall when I was 13 years old, my first year playing organized football for Cataract Pal Eagles, being bullied by a group of veterans on the team. My dad would give me money to stop at the store on my way home from practice. Back then, we rode our bikes. To fit in, I would give the guys my money. I was too afraid to mention this to my coach and my family. This behavior affected my play on the field. One Sunday on our way to a road game, David witnessed those guys receiving money from me and made them give it back and told me I had nothing to fear. He had my back. From that day forward, my confidence went up and my play improved and I took over the starting role at cornerback. 30 years later, David is still helping those who can't help themselves. There has been many times in my personal, professional, and coaching life I had to reflect on that time when someone stood up for me and I returned the favor. Today, I would like to take the time out to thank David for changing my life 30 years ago. So for me, it wasn't like, oh, I want to go to school to learn this. It was just part of the process that in order to help people on a bigger stage, I had to get education, but this was already in my DNA to help people who couldn't help themselves. So it made sense for me to go into my profession to help students. And, you never know when you're rewarded until whether they're in elementary, middle school. Right now, I've been in middle school for the last 8 years. When they go to high school and they come back to visit you, or they're looking you up on social media and thanking you and stuff like that. So I'm not in it for that, but my whole ultimate goal was, before I was getting paid, to provide service and never make people feel hurt and pain. I always wanted to say, hey, it could be me and you against the world, and to lift people up.
That I'm gonna follow that up with something I heard today on a live stream from the Angry Man, aka Valdez, and it was kind of profound. And when he said it, I was like, that's something I've never really thought of. And what he said is this: he said we all have gifts. It doesn't matter who you are. He said it's akin to Christmas. He said everybody comes downstairs, there's a pile of presents on there, and he said sometimes somebody looks and their gift is right there. They take it, they open it up, and they use it, and they benefit from it. And the people that's associated with them, or the people that they come in contact with, they also benefit. He says some people have to dig a little deeper. They may find one present, they might find multiple presents, and they go out and they have fun and they regale themselves, and the people associated with them benefit likewise. He said, and some people don't ever find their gift. He said those are the people that go back and they see the people that have their gifts and they bother them and they make fun of them and they agitate them. He says, he said those people need to go back and go to work until they find their gift. And I think that's what David's mentioning right there, and Lakia is talking about, is we sometimes have to look a little harder to find out what our gift is before we actually understand what that gift is and how we can utilize it to benefit not only ourselves, but humanity. And I think that's what Greg is speaking to with this comment. And let me read this comment. He says, the real measure of value of your life is not in the secular accomplishments, or what your kids would say about you. And I've heard that before. Now I'm in a unique position. I don't have any kids. So my thing becomes, what are the people going to say about me who came in contact with me, who could do nothing for me, and I assisted them? Will there be any of those people that say, you know what? There was a time when I was down, or, I needed something and I couldn't do nothing for this man. And he said, you know what? Come on, let me help you out. Those are the tracks that I was speaking about when I made this statement about, oh, what type of world are we leaving behind us when we leave? Are we leaving the world that's better? Are we leaving the world that's worse? Or are we leaving the world that's the same? Me, I'm always trying to improve daily. And the reason why I try to improve daily, get down, boy. The reason why I try and improve daily is because I want the people that's associated with me. I want the people that's around me to benefit. It's like the adage. It doesn't matter how heavy a boat is that's in the water. You put enough water underneath that boat will rise. I'm trying to be water to make that boat rise.
I think you said some great stuff, Herb. To be honest with you, that was really good what you just said. Something that you said that sparked another thought. When you were saying about you not having children, it was something that I have to come back, but that was really good stuff.
And that's going to lead me to, because I'm going to be short on time tonight because I have to do the work. I posted in the Counselor's Corner and on the other page for everybody to pick a song that they would have played at their funeral. We have the individual who said they're not having a funeral. Funeral memorial service is going to be a time when you're not around, that the song is going to be played and you picking the song. So for me personally, I off the Tony Rich project, I picked Leaving. And if you've ever heard that song, for me, it typifies what I kind of feel like my life will end in terms of being a bird in the sky, because my journey is going to be long over because my body's tired. And for me, we get to a point where we get older and the aches and pains just grow. And if you're not suffering from any long ailment, you just get to a point where the body just becomes tired. The body doesn't replicate itself. It reaches its capacity to be able to heal itself, and just like, hey, it's time to go. It's time to move on. So I always thought Leaving was a cool song, and that was a song I picked, and that's one of the reasons why. So I don't know if anyone else had a song prepared or picked out and they want to explain why they particularly chose that song.
I have 3 songs. I couldn't just narrow it down to one song.
I was just
One
going
song
to
was
say, I'm going to piggyback off of what you said. It's always important to remember, the why is always important. You know what I'm saying? The why is always important. Sometimes you could do things for so long that you literally have forgotten your why. Your why is what keeps you focused, on point, and it keeps you going. If you lose sight, okay, so yeah, if you lose sight of your why, then you're no longer on the path you should be on. The why is important. I can't really sum anything up into one song for myself, but my why is always the reason I remember. I never want to be the person that judges someone by the way that they look, because you don't know their story. I believe everybody has a story. I believe everybody has something. So I always try my best to look beyond whatever my eyes see and see who they really are. Sometimes people are just not developed or have not had the opportunity to develop because people have not seen that there's value there. So your why is always important. Don't forget the why. That's it.
I didn't want to jump in and somebody else want to say something, because I remember my thought. My just thinking off the top of my head, when I would think about a funeral and you talk about the obituary, The one thing I noticed though before COVID was the size of, like, I think how many people showed up at the funeral kind of spoke a lot about a person. You correct me if I'm wrong, but when I would see like some people I knew that was very influential, and I didn't even know how influential they were until I came to their funeral and I saw how many people showed up. And I heard the testimonies of these people. And I was like, wow, they did this, they did that for that person. They did, I was like surprised because I didn't know that much. And I was in that person's life, and I'm speaking of my grandmother. I didn't know how many people's lives she touched, but the people that showed up at her funeral spoke way better than what her obituary was. And she didn't have an education. She worked at a bakery, and that was her. And she went to church. You know what I mean?
And the reason I made mention of this because for so long, Native Black Americans have been systematically denied access to education. That's why I want people to understand that that word education encompasses an entire genre of things that we don't necessarily always realize what is. So that's one of the reasons. That's one of the real reasons why I put that in there, because if we honestly think about it, our generation, meaning Gen X people, we are literally some of the first people that actually have been able to go to school without incurring, or I won't say without incurring some debt. We the first generation of people that have been able to go to school in the numbers that we were. If we look at our parents' generation, usually it was the firstborn or the first male who was sent to school, because the male was looked at as the individual who was going to be able to go out and earn the money to be that water to lift the family up. This is why you see a lot of professional athletes who go out and they make it big. The first thing they do is they go back home and they take care of the family.
Well, one of the
Oh,
things, even when the kid, you said your grandmother didn't have an education. Well, a lot of our, grandparents didn't have an education, and my grandmother, she didn't have education, but she's probably one of the most influential people in my life. And all my quotes, a lot of my quotes is based on her and the way that she walked, and the way that she carried herself, and the way that she stood for her family. So education sometimes is just a means to an end for certain people, but other people, they gonna be galvanized or worshipped just for who they are and the consistency that they stood for. And that was the thing for her. But then also, let me piggyback on another story. And I can remember working at the high school level where, I had like it was the valedictorian, the president of student life, and teachers, the ones that educated these students on a daily basis. Everybody wanted to get mentioned in the students their speech. So they were asking, I know you're going to mention my name. I know you're going to mention my name at graduation, to the point that it was overwhelming for the students. And they would come and they tell me, like, Mr. Glover, they keep asking me to mention them, but really, I don't remember anything that they really said in world history or U.S. history. What I remember is stuff that you talked to me about outside of school, just the life lessons. And she named a couple other teachers. She said, and I don't care what, that's who I'm going to mention at graduation. And she did. And a couple other people, a couple of our names have been a common theme throughout the graduation, which led the school to say, oh, students can't write their speeches no more. They wanted to write them or get them approved because only certain people was getting recognition. And of course, everybody wanted to shine. Now, I never said anything to her about, please mention my name. I just knew my role with her every day. And she had said, I'm going to definitely mention you. But she said, I keep getting approached by other teachers, say, oh, did you mention my name? Did you write your speech? Did you mention my name? And she's like, no, I'm not mentioning their names because they didn't impact me like that.
Right.
And you should be able to mark those people in your life who made an impact. In spite of anything that I may have been, God has blessed me to do in this life, I don't feel like I'm entitled to anything.
Right.
You know, I'm more of a behind the scenes person anyway.
Yeah.
I don't like the forefront around, like that's just never been my thing.
Right.
However, because of doing certain things, you do have to come that way sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, but I do believe, I know we had a situation like that um, at one of my kids' school when they were young during Black History Month, because they wanted to tell the kids who their Black history hero or icon needs to be. They give them a list. And I've always taught my kids to look around in your real life, your everyday life, and
Mhm.
you find that person that inspires you, and that's who you write about. So that
Right.
became a giant thing. Like I literally had to fight the school system and everything because I just felt like you don't have the right to tell us, to tell these kids who they should look up to. Like they gave a list. Like I'm all for the athletes and stuff, but my kids don't know Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? My kids
Mhm.
don't know him, but they know my brothers that made an impact in their life. They know their dads and so on and so forth. I mean, find the real life people, because those real life people, you can look at their real life situation. We don't know. I don't know what Michael Jordan had to go through. I don't really
Right.
know that unless he tells us, but I do know that I can look over here at my brother who overcame serious health issues to go on to lead the life that he's leading today, to be a successful young man. So that's something that I think we all like kind of have to watch out for. But it's also something that I think that should be taught. David, they felt like, the teachers and things that you were speaking of felt like they were entitled to a mention. And they I guess, thought what they downloaded into whoever these children are. You don't get to say that. You know what I mean? So you have to let them tell a story. You can't correct somebody's story about who they feel like is their icon. You can't correct
Right.
somebody's story or overestimate what you did. Case of, I know an individual one time. Um, I'm put it in a nutshell. This particular individual was going to commit suicide, right? And so something in me just said, reach out, say what's good, check in, and I did that. So a few weeks later, they told me, like, you really kind of like saved my life that night, because it was over with at that point. Just the simple fact that you reached out, said hello, checked in on me, made me to know someone cares. So you don't ever know what the smallest act that you do for someone is, how they can impact them. So I'm definitely in agreement with
Mhm.
you when I say, you cannot tell somebody, mention me. Now, don't mention me. Just say, God, stop by. Somebody pray for me. Don't mention me. You know what I mean? Unless that's really something that you really feel. So I'm with you on that one. Mention me. I don't think that they should have had the ability to say that to whoever was writing or
Yeah, they
speaking
wanted
to
that shine. They wanted that validation. And for me, I didn't need to say anything. I knew what I brought to the table every day, and I knew the relationship building that I had with these students. So it never even crossed my mind to say, ask about the speech. If they would have not mentioned me, I know our day to day interactions, and I knew that I was kind of valued. Mofo, what's good? Look like you going to the Grammys or something tonight, all
What's up,
dialed up.
David? No, I just got back from a dinner date. So yeah, that's what's happening. That
Okay.
is what has happened. And I represent, listen, I told you, hey, when I'm going out, I present. Men are visual creatures, just like women are visual creatures. I present at every turn. So yeah, that's how that goes. Been listening though. I've been listening since I got home.
Can I share something with you guys?
Of
Can you
course
still
you
hear me?
can, baby.
Yeah, okay, hear you.
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
yeah, we can hear
cause,
you. We can hear you.
cause, cause this thing is like a little bit crappy because my Bluetooth ain't working. But anyway, something that impacted me when I was young. I grew up on North Avenue for a couple of years, and I went to 60th Street School, I think.
Yeah,
66th
60th,
Street
yeah.
School. Yeah.
60th.
So I remember in third or fourth grade, it was Martin Luther King Day. We were having like some celebration or some. We were doing a march around the school, and we were singing "We Will Overcome." Right? You guys know that song, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna.
Yes, we all over.
Oh,
We all know that song.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
I
we know
mean,
it
I can't
definitely.
just assume. I can't just assume.
Absolutely, I'm with you, boo. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm
So
with you,
that
boo.
impacted my life. I always remember that we were singing that song, holding hands with each other. Nobody was divided. Everybody was united. And it was a great feeling because I was one of the only white people growing up on North Avenue, and I kind of felt left out, kind of felt like I didn't fit in. So that was one of the amazing things that I always think about that impacted my life. So with that being said, I the other day, coincidentally, I was having a conversation with my friends or an acquaintance, whatever, and we were talking about obituaries and dying and stuff. I said, you know what? At my services, you make sure everybody knows what I stand for, and one of the things I stand for is don't judge me by the color of my skin but by the content of my character. And I think that is such a strong statement because a lot of times people are uh,
Judge.
perceived as something, judged by what they look like, and I've been
Oh,
subject
absolutely. Most of the time.
of that.
Most of the time.
Yeah, I've been subject to that a lot of times in the military because I don't look timid. I don't look like I should be in charge, but I have a when I step in the kitchen, like I was a cook, so when I step in the kitchen, it's all business. So I feel like I did have a large impact on the young soldiers that I mentored because a lot of them they didn't have that mentorship growing up, that mentality where you try to exceed. They just had the mentality where you try to get by. So I did a lot of things in the military, and I think even though a lot of my soldiers gave me a hard time, I think they really appreciated what I brought to the table because I was very successful in the military. I can't even tell you. It's so, and when I look back on it, I'm like, am I really talking about myself? And then I'm like, yeah, I really am. Because
That
back here in
happens to
Niagara
me a
Falls,
lot.
it's such a different animal back here in Niagara Falls. And I'm like, where do I fit in? Because I was so successful in the military. And then I come back to Niagara Falls and it's like, I don't have, I don't know, I'm still trying to find my place. But I have a lot of education and it wasn't for, I think it was more for the fact to prove myself to my family in a way that I could do it because education was never pushed on me, like college was never pushed on me, but in a way I felt like I needed to prove myself that I was smart enough to do what I could do, to do what I did.
Well, let me
So
tell
now
you
I have a lot
why.
of
So the first
education.
thing is you're not alone. You're not alone at all as a
Mhm.
veteran. The second thing is you're right about the education. Women in the military, your education, we have to work harder. And right now
Oh
I'm just
yeah.
talking about women. I haven't made a distinction between the white woman and black woman because there absolutely is in the military as well. But just as a woman, and it was a white woman who took me to the side, my master chief, who was like just at the time we could use the term bulldagger. You use that term now, people are going to be up in arms. But at the time, they called themselves that. But she was, LGBT. And so she called me into her office after I had gotten to the command for a couple of weeks, and she just was observing how I was moving. I was 27 when I joined the military, but I looked 17. So the dudes
Mhm.
that were approaching me, honey, they didn't know what the fuck to expect once I opened my mouth because I looked timid until I started talking. And then, of course, if
Mhm.
I'm talking about something that I know, that's something even even that's a different animal. Of course, I ended up
Right.
mentoring a lot of women on the ship just because I was older. So even though I may have been the same rank as someone who was 18, 19 years old, I was still, 27. There was just a different way that you were going to speak to me, period, in the military. I don't give a damn about what's on your shoulder, my shoulder, his shoulder, her shoulder, they shoulders. It's a certain way
Mhm.
that you were going to speak to me. And so, yeah, I ended up, and so I know exactly what your and I dynamic would have been if we had
Yeah,
served
it's
together.
crazy.
I know exactly
It's
what it would have been.
it's
Let me
And so you're
crazy.
not, that's what I
And
was
some
saying.
of
You're not alone because you went back to Niagara
yeah,
Falls. I came back here to the state. Listen, that feeling that you do not belong, that you don't know where you fit in, that's every veteran. You're not alone in that
yeah, it's
because
it's a
we have
crazy
learned a different set of
situation.
skills. We've learned a different set of
Mhm.
skills. We've learned a different set of rules. That's just like a person who has spent the majority of their life in prison. They're learning very different lessons
Right.
in prison. They're
Right.
let me
And the
ask
reason,
you.
one of the
very
reasons
different.
why
There's a
I came,
different rule system in prison.
yeah, one of the reasons why I came
Yeah, go
back to
ahead.
Niagara Falls is because I have a niece that was, I was here 2 weeks before I went to Iraq, and she was born, and she had some medical problems, so I didn't really get to see her except for in the hospital. I went to Iraq. I came back 6 months later, like every 6 months. And then I realized I don't want my niece to grow up without knowing who I am. And I don't want to not have an impact on her life because I have more world experience than my sister and, my mom, of course. And that's one of the reasons why I came back here so I can have a positive impact on her life. It's the human and cultural capital that I want her to experience that she would not
Was it the hardest
ordinarily
for
get
you
to
and friends?
experience. What?
Was it the hardest for you to? Was it the hardest for you to adjust to your family and friends? It was the hardest for me to adjust to them. I've been in places like Jebel Ali where our entertainment is literally the sandbox where we ride
Right,
camel
Did she freeze?
right.
stuff for entertainment. I come back here. Well, let's go to the movies. Let's go to bowling. I don't want to go bowling. Well, let's go. I'm like, well, then you ain't bored. You're bored is when you're riding a camel, okay, for recreation. That's bored.
Bored is when
You
you're in
are
the
like there's
MWR.
being in the military. Just bored is when you are on the MWR team trying to make up game crap
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
command.
yeah. Talking lingo, we had no
The
idea what y'all talking about.
Exactly.
the
But I
Well,
guess
overall business.
I wanted to ask you if it's okay, real quick. Like, you said you wanted to come back and help your niece. Like, was there something that you ever desired to do that you just haven't felt like the strength to try out, to try something different? Like you've always had a passion about something, but you really haven't chased after that passion. I mean, sometimes
well,
that helps you
see,
realize that whatever you're passionate about, sometimes that helps as well as finding what your place is, which something you should be doing or could be doing.
yeah. Well, seeing as I have no kids and I never been married, it's something that I wanted to do to have an impact on somebody in my family that me and my sister didn't have that uh, that kind of lifestyle growing up because my mom was a homemaker back in the day, and so a lot of people don't know a lot of things about my life that happened in the military or that I experienced. Or I volunteered for Aware Central Texas, which I think my calling is helping people. Right now, well, before my heart attack last year, I was in school to be a drug and alcohol counselor and human services. So when I lived in Texas, can you guys, am I breaking up?
Oh,
I
you're
feel like
fine.
I'm breaking up. Oh, okay.
Echoing.
Um,
I don't know. Somebody
when
got
I
it.
was in Texas, yeah, when I was in Texas, I volunteered for a a program called Aware Central Texas, and what it was very difficult. It was kind of like CPS, but you were on a volunteer team, being an advocate and a support system for, it was mostly single mothers that were about to have their kids taken away or already had their kids taken away. So I realized that I really want to help people. I would love to adopt a child or foster a child, because there's so many people in this, so many children in this world that need a good loving home and a good like good role models
Right.
that they're not having. So that's one thing that I always wanted to do. But also in my military career, I think everywhere I was stationed, I had one or two black female friends that were like my best friend. But also, well, I'm just telling my story. So also, I was the subject of racism when I was in the military, because I was a cook. I was the only white cook in my section for
Said
the
you was
most
a crook.
part.
Oh, girl, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry. I thought
yeah.
you
I thought
said
you
you
was
was
a
a
crook.
crook.
I was
I
gonna
was
say, no wonder they gave you a damn hard time.
gonna
What you
say,
thought?
huh?
No, I was a cook,
I
and
was like, yeah,
most
that's like, yeah,
no
no, I did a crook, crook. I
most
said, well,
people
girl,
that
that's a different part of the story, Anita. You just throwing some
no
facts up in there,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's a reason they was
most
treating you
most
shitty, stealing people's
most
stuff.
people most people that know about people that are cooks in the military understand that it's a predominantly black
Yeah,
black people there,
yeah.
and I didn't fit in, although my boyfriend was black, and a lot of my superiors did not like that. They didn't agree with
Oh
that,
yeah, honey, you
and
really
I was
didn't
like,
fit in. No, no, you know
yeah,
I
I was
didn't.
like, who cares? You know, like everybody bleeds red. Like who cares who I'm dating? I didn't understand.
Well, you know that
But
that's all around.
Let me
Period.
Oh
Though.
interject
yeah,
Anita,
everyone
look,
real
bleeds
quick.
red, but you know they only want to see that from a certain race, and so that's what people are. That's
yeah,
what the
Well,
the up and
let me interject real quick.
we
What
all
you
do
guys have to
bleed red.
hold on. What you guys have to understand about the military is this: when you guys were enlisted, the U.S. military had been desegregated for less than 60 years. You still had a lot of the old world doctrine that was
It's
permeating.
still there. It ain't gone.
Yes, not
It's
hold on,
not
It's
gone.
still
hold,
there.
They call it right now
hold
the
It's
on.
still
subway.
there. It's
Yeah,
not gone. It's still
yeah,
there.
Jesus Christ,
speak,
I'm agreeing with you. I'm
listen,
sorry. I go ahead.
speak.
because I'm about to say, like, how we not gonna turn this into the whole military life because we got a
No,
bunch
no,
of
no.
non-militant
No.
people.
no, it's I
What
was
it is?
trying to say how I've had an impact on people that nobody really understands about. That's what we were talking about how we live our life, right? So I was
Yeah.
trying
No,
to,
About it later,
it's,
Anita.
yeah,
to that, what people don't realize is a lot of that culture bleeds into the culture as a norm because a lot of those people come out and they live their lives the same way. This is the element of what you saw on January 6th at the Capitol. And a lot of people don't realize that we have people that live among us every day that has that mindset. We
That
don't
has what
generally
mindset.
acknowledge because we don't see it and it's not affecting us in that way. And now when it comes out into the open,
That's
we
not
say,
true.
we never thought about this. This is why I always say, get to know your neighbors, sit down, have discussions with them because those are the people that are going to impact your life daily.
Well, that's what
hmm
they call it having one-on-one sessions with people, so you can find out commonality, and then also learn. But Herb, I wanted to answer your question real quick, and I know David want to move on. I'm sorry if I jump in too soon, but my song at my funeral would be "When You Hear of My Home Going, Don't Worry About Me, because I'm going home." So that's my song.
I never
And
heard
real
that
quick,
song.
before we change subjects, the song that I already told my family when I kick the bucket, the song I want them to do is Before I Let Go by Frankie Beverly and Maze. And I say that because I told them I don't want to see I don't want anybody crying at my funeral. I didn't spend my life crying. I'm not a crier. I'm a person who likes to chill and have fun. I want to be remembered that way. I want
Yeah.
my homegoing service to be about all the good times that you had with me, no matter whether it was me talking you down from doing something stupid, me acting like I didn't know you were doing something stupid.
As
Because
y'all said to me
my
last
mom
week,
swear My mom swear
I
up and
want
down, and I'm the mastermind when
the
it comes
whole
to siblings. She swear I know
seance
everything that they do.
to
And I usually find
try
out
to get me
after
back.
they do
Try
stuff.
to
I'd be like, if you'd have told me before, I'd have
get
told you the way to do it without getting
me
caught.
back.
But you didn't ask
And you
me.
can.
As y'all said to
My
me last
song,
week, is it don't matter. You're gonna be dead anyway. Ain't that what y'all said?
I don't know. I
I mean, that's
wasn't
still
here
what I
last
feel,
week,
but
but
with
I
I
more,
was
wasn't
I
here.
don't
like
know
I
what you're
feel
talking
that
I
too.
about.
I
was
I
in
don't
the
feel like
know.
room.
who guaranteed they're gonna play
yeah,
something for
I do
me if I
remember
got a
that.
choice? I want them to do a seance. No, I wanna. I get your Ouija boards out. Hey, get me back. Like if
Ouija board.
do that one last ditch effort.
Yeah, that's some old
I
spookism.
say,
Well,
Ouija
I'm
board.
going
do
to
that
say
one
this.
last ditch.
And
Do that one thing and
I,
put the music on. But yeah, no, yeah. Try to talk to me because I got some shit to
I
tell you,
wanted to
especially from what
piggyback.
I'm seeing on the other side. Yeah, let me go ahead and tell you.
I wanted to piggyback on what Anita said, and um, she applied it to the military, but how it's really hard for a woman in a particular setting, you know. And I was thinking how that same thing applies in a non-military setting, how hard it can
Mhm.
be, you know. I was talking to my brother the other day, and I asked him, I said, did you know that we were part of history when we were in elementary school? Because the city that I grew up in had the very first Black principal and school teacher literally at the same time in one building. And he was like, I didn't know that. He was like, I didn't know that the principal at that time was a trendsetter, which he really was, you know, and he didn't play with you either. And you know, God rest his soul. But, you know, I've been the first of many things, and the pressure that comes with that, and you're always wondering if this is what you're supposed to be doing, and you know, you're trying to walk that line instead of just operating in the why. You know what I mean? Like, oh, if I do
Mhm.
this, then this is that and that and this. And then if you have people working under you, then you're always concerned about how things are gonna impact them. And you know, like being in a position or a setting that you've never been in before professionally, you feel like you're under a microscope. So you're
Mhm.
remembering the why is important. Where do I fit in? And sometimes you're not supposed to. Sometimes you are supposed to kick the wall down. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes. So
Oh, I've
just
kicked many
remembering the
walls
You
why.
got
down.
to. You got to. You have to. And
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
lot
you
of
got
times we
to.
don't even recognize that as an accomplishment. Like how many of the things that you've been the first at did you even recognize as you being a trendsetter until later? Like most of the time when we're going through things, we don't give a damn about no trend. We trying to get what it is that we need in that moment. We don't
Mhm.
care if nobody else is following us, except for to get the goal accomplished. It's not until later, when you realize it, when someone comes to you and say, you know what, when you did that, it really, really opened this door for me, or it really did. You're not even thinking about, now it's become the popular thing to choose trendsetter as an occupation. Let me go on and influence people on the internet. But the Martin Luther Kings of the world, the Malcolm X's of the world, they didn't set out to be that. They saw an issue, they saw a problem, they felt like they had a voice that, I'm sure that they weren't thinking they was going to lead nations, that they were, it was what they needed to do in the moment. And so it goes back to what
Mhm.
Anita was saying and what I've heard a couple of other people say. You never, ever know what your actions are going to, snowball effect. You never know the things that you're going to do that's going to affect somebody to go and be great. You might not do a lot
Yeah.
of things or look at the things that you've done as accomplishments,
And
but something you've done has made such a difference to someone that it was the motivation for them going on to do something.
that's one of the things I
Mhm.
wanted to say when Nita said, "Oh, when you came back to Niagara Falls, and you lived the military life, and you was wondering how uh, you should fit in." Nah, you don't worry about how you fit in. Make them fit in with you. You should come and be yourself. And people gravitate toward the uncommon. People that do different, they walk different, and they carry themselves different. You always want to try to live your life the uncommon way,
I
whatever. That makes you stand out. compared to fitting in and being like
I
everyone
guess
else.
I guess not really fitting in, but finding your place, your purpose, your place in
Again,
a
it's
whole
we
different
yeah.
world that nobody else understands about. And like it's important for me to make a positive impact on people's lives. So in fact, when I left Germany, my girlfriends, they we had a little party, at the club, and we sang, or they sang, that's what friends are for. So that's what I would like to have at
Oh,
my
y'all did the
funeral. That's what
sappy
friends are
sappy
for.
goodbye. Oh my goodness.
And hold on, lean on
Y'all did a
me,
sappy
because
goodbye.
it's not
Oh,
sappy.
oh, y'all was
No, because
crying. Y'all had
It
wine and
says
crying and
sappy,
everything.
meaning sad.
no, it's not. I
Sad,
don't
like
think
a
those songs
sad
are
y'all
sad.
were.
I don't think those songs are sad for me. For me,
No.
it represents like the kind of person I
I
was
got
to
you, boo.
my
I
family and friends.
How y'all gonna tell
So,
somebody
I
what they
always
should
try
play?
to live.
Ain't nobody told nobody nothing. I said okay. You ain't hear that?
No,
I
I
said
ain't hear
okay.
that. I ain't hear that.
Well, then you should have been quiet to hear it.
I'll
She
be
heard it.
quiet. I'm
She
always quiet.
heard it.
I'm always
Everybody
effective listener. I ain't hear it.
else heard it. Everybody else heard it.
But
All
no,
right.
that's interesting. Well, she's gone now, but I was gonna say that she got to make her own table. Sometimes you got to make her own table. If there's no seat at the table,
Everybody
create
does.
your own. As we hear people say, and that's what we're forever doing. We say, as we were talking about earlier, we're always trying to evolve or grow, and sometimes in our own circle we can't grow because we feel stagnant, and we have to like kind of get ourselves out and create our own space to be able to grow.
Your circle
You
doesn't want you
know,
to grow outside of your circle. Your circle is very
right,
comfortable with the circle. And
right,
so
That's
once
when
you
you gotta
start to
change
do
your circle.
anything,
yeah,
once you start to do anything that goes outside of that, you'll be, and I think it was Dave that hit on last week, it might have been her too, but we were saying, everybody that walk with you can't run with you. Just because you
yeah,
started off with me
Mhm.
don't mean that you're going to finish with me. And the same for
Mhm.
me, because it's
hmm
some my people do. Hey, I can go with you on this part, but on that player, you want, I can't do. That's why I understand it when everybody can't go with you. A lot of times, the issue that we have in relationships is trying to hold on to a mofo that should be gone, that's trying to go, that need to
hmm
go.
Mhm.
And because we want what we want in that moment, we're trying to get them to say, no, no,
right,
no, because you're going to hold me back, because eventually I'm going to start to do what I need to do in order to start making you happy. I'm going to dim my dream. And it goes for men, for women. It happens in relationships, especially if you're with somebody that doesn't have the same type of mindset. You have your friends, whoever it is. If you the person that's innovative and you looking for the new thing to do, and you just got some humdrum friends, as soon as you start talking, they're going to be looking, there she go again. I done heard that so many times. There
right.
she
That's so
go. She
true.
Yeah.
doing something else. I'm
Yeah.
always
Go
gonna be
sit
doing
down
something else.
somewhere.
I
Go
don't
sit
want the
down
same damn
somewhere. You're
thing like
doing too
y'all
much.
doing.
You're doing
Yeah,
too
you
much.
doing
Sit
Yeah.
too
down.
much. No, you're not doing enough. Somebody
Right.
told me that I
Yeah.
needed to slow
Basically.
down. I said, don't you tell me to slow down
You
again. You
do
need to
too
catch up.
much.
That's what you
Quiet
need
as
to
kept.
do.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
it's just,
When
your
Just like
circle, like
David.
your circle is the main one.
Right. And
yeah,
that's how
when I
that's so
moved back
true.
here, I stayed with my best friend for a couple, like 6 weeks. That's all it lasted. And I get free education because I was in the army. I paid for it, not financially, but I get a free education. And her boyfriend was like, "Why don't you quit school and get a real job?" I'm like, "Why don't you mind your own business? And why would I quit school when it's free?" You
I don't care
know?
if you was paying
And
for it. If that's what you wanted to do, you had a right to do that.
right,
To thy own self, be true. Live your
right.
life
And
that
not
way.
only
Mm.
Right, and not only that, but even now when I talk about stuff, she's like, "Why can't you just talk normal? Like, why I'm such a nerd." Okay, well, I like being a nerd. So what?
Honey, nerds
I
make the
have a
world
lot.
go round. They better recognize it.
I have.
Right.
I know a little bit about a lot,
Yeah.
but I like talking about it. And people that aren't on that level, not saying anything bad or belittling anybody, but they don't understand. That's why I like having different social circles, because what one person likes to do, the other person don't like to do. Like if I want to
Yeah.
go to the opera, I know somebody I can go to the opera with. If I want to
Right
go to the
here.
club, I know somebody to go to the club with. You know?
Mhm.
You
No, you
know,
doing
I
that's
feel
that's
you,
how
girl.
it
I am
is.
an opera chick. I like dressing up and getting drunk with the people. Love it.
Yeah.
see, sometimes you cannot expect people to understand what it is you're doing or what drives you or what your vision is,
Right.
because it's your vision.
Right.
So when
Right.
they don't understand, it's okay to not understand. It's
Mhm.
okay. I get it. I know
She
why you
always
don't
say it so
understand.
nice.
But that's not going
Mhm.
to derail me from doing what I want to do. Um,
Right.
Surprisingly, I've done some things in the middle of a pandemic that I would never thought, and I'm grateful, that I stepped out there to do it, and it's slowly becoming successful, which I'm happy with. And of course, it does have to do with helping people, but they don't see what you see. They don't have your skill level or whatever you want to call it. So sometimes you
Mhm.
just can't expect. Sometimes you just got to be that island. Sometimes it does get lonely because you know where you're going. You know the plan and you know the
Mhm.
end game, but they don't see that. It's rare when you find somebody that can pick your vision up and can see it as well as you can, and help
Yeah.
you to accomplish that. So when you have something greater than the masses, so to speak, um,
Mhm.
expect them to not understand and expect to
Yeah.
remember the reason why you're doing this. The why, I can't say that enough. The why is important. I'm actually going to put that on one of my
Oh
paintings
yes.
because the why
Mhm.
is important.
Oh yeah.
If you forget your why, listen, my husband is in the funeral services. He knew kind of as a child that that's what he was supposed to be doing. The why is important. So
Mhm.
don't forget your why, and don't forget everybody's not going to see it, everybody's not going to understand it, and a lot of people are going to call you foolish. A lot of people are going to try to derail
Yeah.
you from where you're
Mhm.
going in
Yeah.
life.
And I think
Yeah.
I'm sure when David
Wait,
said I'm gonna write books, they said something. I'm sure when Shrey said she was gonna write a book, they said something. I'm sure when Rollick T was gonna become a teacher,
Another, he
somebody
doing
said
something
something. I'm
again.
sure when Anita came out the
Girl.
military, somebody. So it's always somebody to put their mouth on, put their mouth on you. That
Mhm.
one song, that says, "I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I need you, I love you, I need you to survive." That's a true song. So just expect that,
Can
and
I
then
ask
you
you a
find the light
question?
bulb around you. Huh?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question real quick? This doesn't even pertain to anything that we're saying, but what is behind you?
Uh, on my chair. I'm sitting in the
the
chair.
hell that
Oh,
got to do with anything?
because if you shut your trap, I'll tell you. How
Shut my
about that?
trap. I tell me it ain't no need for me to shut my
Yeah.
trap. Whatever.
I'm about to
I
tell
happen to
you.
talking.
I'm
I
about
don't
to
know.
tell you.
I don't even know if I want to hear
Because
it. I don't even know if I want to
I
hear
don't
it.
care if you want to hear it. Maybe she wants
He
to
said, I don't
hear
know
it.
if I want to hear it.
Anyway,
He said,
I
I
do
don't know if
want to
I want
know.
you to say it.
I want to hear it. Yeah.
because the reason why I'm asking is because I'm sitting here on my phone looking, and it looks like you're wearing angel wings, and I'm trying to squint my eyes and see what in the
Ooh,
world is, what
I
is
see you
that,
see you
because
as an
it looks like
angel. It do look, it can look like angel
angel
wings.
wings. So
I
anyway,
don't know.
Yeah.
But
But
no, you said everything
this
that
is a
you
anyway,
said
chair.
so eloquently and so beautifully and all of that stuff. And that's what everything that you just said as far as, everybody can't see your vision. And I think that that's
mhm,
what I wanted to hit on last week when me and Dave were kind of going back and forth. Because in his mind, he was like, look, if you don't get it when I bring it to you, blah, 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 don't come back later. And that's why I was like, well, no, they can come back later because, see, I still want those coins. I want your money whenever you're going to give it to me. But I do have to understand that just what you said, not everybody is going to see your vision. I don't even care if they do at this point. For me, I take it a step further. I don't care if you see it. If I see it, that's all that matters because I'm attracting my tribe. I told somebody before, I'm not
mhm,
here to convince nothing. I'm here to convey. So I'm talking to my tribe. The people that need to hear me will hear me. So I'm just say what I need to say, do what I need to do, show what I need to show. And the people that are supposed to show up are going to show up. I can't spend one more instant on trying to convince
And that's the
myself
thing. You're not
that
But
that's
you,
see,
not
you're not
right.
trying
No.
to
but see,
convince them
you
whatever.
telling. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
You're not trying to convince them. You're just being consistent in your approach. And I know Scorpio talk about the why, but it's also other factors, the W's, the what, when, why, and all of that stuff plays a part because when you got a
Yeah, I
mission,
agree with that.
all of that stuff needs to be in place. Who's gonna do it? What's gonna happen? When it's gonna happen? All of that stuff, time, place, and all that stuff. And obviously, the why is like, why are you doing this? Like, what's the purpose? That's probably more of the objective. Which plays a lot to it. So it's so many components to it. But again, I believe in when you
Mhm.
stay consistent to what your approach is, either people get in where they fit in. As long as you're consistent. If you never uh, kind of alleviate or deviate off your position, hey, either you're gonna
They'll
have
come.
yeah, they're gonna come eventually because they're gonna say that person, that woman, or that man been solid for a long time,
Mhm.
and I think that's the approach. So, and
Yeah,
I keep
I get
saying,
that. I agree with that.
don't
You
The
know
worry
that
about
reason
groups
why
and stuff.
the
that goes
reason
back to the beginning. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah, go
I
ahead. I'm
was
done.
just going to say the reason why I stress that why is because the why is the factor that drives the who, what, when, and where. You
And
know what
see,
I'm
that
saying?
stuff could
If
fall
you
apart.
start
So if
out
your
with your
why is
why,
strong,
right? And then, it's like I said, it's okay for you not to believe in my dream. If that's what I'm telling you, this is my dream. It's okay. But at the end of the day, as you said, you were attracting your tribe. Eventually, there's a saying that says, if you set it on fire, they'll come see it. So eventually, if you set it on fire, they still gonna come to see it, whether they want to see you successful or not. You know what I'm saying? So your why
right?
is always
Just to
Mhm.
see
important.
what you're
Why is the
doing.
driving factor? Yeah, just to check
Mhm.
out what you're doing. I have a business right now
Yeah,
that a lot of people feel like I should give them things for at no cost.
Girl, I saw your
That's
stuff
not
and it's
how a business
beautiful.
works.
It's
Thank you.
beautiful. What
That's
you're
not
doing
how
is
a business.
beautiful. But yeah, that's how they think. Your
Listen,
friends and stuff think that they should get things for free.
yeah, and and it's okay that you don't understand when I tell you why I'm not going to do that. That's quite all right that you don't understand that, but because obviously I'm not speaking to you, like you said, you're attracting your tribe, but your tribe will attract tribes. You get what I'm saying? So you
They'll
have
come
the
straight to you.
opportunity to impact. You have the opportunity to impact generations of people that you may have never met in your life. So stick to your
yeah,
why
that's
and
that's
be
true.
true to yourself. Because if you true to yourself, who you gonna deviate? You know what I'm saying? You can't mess up your own honesty to you. So do that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that goes
Yeah.
And
back
that's
to
what.
the conversation that we started off with the survey. Like would take like kind of seeing where you fall in that survey if you're independent or not. Because if you are an independent person, it doesn't matter what people think, and you're going to step out and be yourself regardless, and you're going to do what you desire to do in your heart regardless of what people say. Then and if you find yourself not scoring to be an independent, that I believe that has some truth to it, what David has shared, and if you find that you're not operating in that, then that's when, as Herb was saying, check yourself and see where you need to have growth to get to that place where you don't care about what nobody say. Let me just step out on some different things that will help me become greater, and get closer to my purpose. You know what I mean? So that's something that going back to what we started off with.
You can care about
True,
what they
true.
say. You just, if you choose to, you just don't let it derail you. Like you just said, you're working in the real estate industry where if you really pop out there, you can make googads of money. But your why is keeping you there. And I'm sure there's
Mhm.
probably been people said to you, "Hey, why don't you go over here? They're hiring. You can do this. You can do
Right.
Hmm.
that." Da, da, da. But your why is what's keeping you there. So it's okay. They can tell it. They can tell you. You just don't let
Hmm.
it derail you. And I
Right.
do know that pressure busts pipes. That's what my husband always say. Pressure busts pipes. It does. Not
Hmm.
everybody is able or capable of walking a certain path alone. But I do believe that sometimes, you get the help that you need. Someone will show up that will help you in that matter if this is what you're supposed to be doing, if this is what
Absolutely.
you are doing.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
always
I
mentioned to a
totally agree.
person, I mentioned to somebody, I said, hey, I'm going to, go ahead and start getting my poetry published. And I just mentioned it to her. And she said, listen, I'm going to put you in touch with this person and that person. And there you have it. I was not expecting that. I was just, speaking to my friend. And so she was like, yeah, I'm going to hook you two up and this and that.
Bang.
And that. So what you don't know, you get provided. It gets provided for you.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And so, I've always
We
said
are
God
not
takes care
supposed
of
to be
fools and
concerned
babies,
with
but
how things are going to happen.
right,
We're
Right.
not
Marsha, I
supposed
don't
to be
know if I'm
concerned
a
with the
fool or a
how
baby.
things are going to happen. We're supposed to put our desires out there
right,
into the universe, let God have it. And because faith without works is freaking dead. And like they said, you're supposed to be consistent in the actions that you need to
Yep.
do.
Put the work into
But
it.
and that's where a lot
yeah,
of us, and I'm talking to myself too, I can get bogged down sometimes and well, oh my God, well, why does it take so long? How is this going to happen? I think we all feel that. But at the end of the day, we just have to know, you know what? I cannot,
yeah,
because once you start to get your hopes and pin your hopes on this one way working out, when it doesn't, then it derails you in a devastating way. But when you're able
right,
to say, you know what?
Mhm.
I'm just going to put out here what my goal is, what it is that I want. I'm going to do the things that I need to do. I'm going to
Yeah.
surrender the how.
She's freezing up a little
The
Yeah.
bit.
universe and God is going to send me, and I'm just going to wait. Sorry, I think I froze up. But it's been so many times where
Yeah.
I'm thinking things are going to come in one way, and they come in a completely different way. Once I
Eh,
surrender, once I stop
Yeah.
worrying, once I give up the worry, once I give up the worry and stop, in my book, I don't mean to like shamelessly plug, but I give 5 exercises, and 3 of those exercises include sticky notes and where to put them in your house, because when when you suffer from anxiety and depression, you don't know where that's going to hit you. You don't know when it's going to hit you. You don't know what's going to trigger it. And so I have things around my house, things that I've created as well to go with the book, but sticking on my refrigerator. And it's helped me because just a couple of days ago, I had let some news, it hit me the wrong way. And, because positive as we can be, we're not walking around always positive. That's like Christians ain't walking around always praising Jesus. Like, I
what,
had a moment and went to the refrigerator, and I caught a glimpse of one of my sticky notes, and it immediately pulled me back. And I was like,
what,
damn, like that's why you wrote that book. Whether anybody else buys it or everything I put in there is what I do to get through my dark space. If,
well, that's one of the things with the consistency because we all know we're gonna go in the refrigerator. So if you post something to a place that you're gonna constantly go to, it's gonna
exactly.
be there,
I have you put it on. I
just like in the
have you put it on
bathroom
the
or something like
refrigerator.
that.
I have put
Mhm.
it on the bathroom mirror, and I have you
Yeah.
put it on your bedroom dresser. Those are the 3 places, and your workspace if you work from home. Your bedroom door or dresser, your bathroom mirror, your refrigerator, and your workspace. And it's 3 sticky notes with 3 very specific messages. And in my book, I instruct you where to put them, when to put them, and all of that stuff. And they help. Like I said, I went straight to that refrigerator, and bam, I saw it, and it brought me back to where I needed to be. It
Mhm.
yeah,
immediately, the statements are very strong. And so it immediately brought me back,
Yeah. Purpose.
and I was like, well, damn, I'm glad I wrote the book. And that's what I was thinking myself, like, thank you for writing the book. So even if it don't help nobody else, it took me out of my dark place, which is exactly why I wrote it, because people have been asking me how I deal with outwardly. You wouldn't know that I'm diagnosed with depression and anxiety, because I'm a fairly happy person. It shocked me I got diagnosed with it. So it was a long road to be able to handle it, and kind of transitioning from crooked crazy and sexy psychosis. Like, you don't want people being able to tell you crazy as hell. So yeah, everything in it is how I
yeah.
but
I had read something. I had read something this morning, and it said you could choose peace or understanding. It's a choice, peace or understanding, because the word says, "I'll give you a peace that surpasses understanding." And that goes to not worrying. You got to either just have that, keep that peace, and know that it's going to work out. You have to keep that peace to know that regardless of what it looks like right now, it's going to work out. It's going to work out in my favor. You got to keep that peace to knowing that just, and all my principles is from the word, so I'm not trying to be preachy, but it's life and life giving for me. And so for me,
you
it's like
saying what you gotta say. Who cares if it
you know
sounds
uh,
preachy? You say what you need to say.
right. So I'm just gonna share. I'm just like, because it's not my show. I'm just gonna but I'm
Lakia,
just like,
stop and
just
say what
giving
you
you.
got to say
Well,
now.
I'm just saying that all things work together for my good, to them that love God, and to them that are
Yeah,
called
what was
according to
all
His
this
purpose.
explaining, girl?
Yeah, so I'm just saying, I just
So,
wanted to share. I'm going to share some scriptures, and I'm going. Because that's who I am, and that's where, and not to be offensive, but I'm going to probably cause offenses, and that's okay too. But
That's what we
everything does
do
work
here.
out.
Still
One thing
explain.
I
We
can
told
learn.
you to stop
This is what I
explaining.
can say. I've been through some stuff that should have wiped us out, and I think all of us can say. And I heard your testimony, Anita. I was watching that we've been through some stuff that could have wiped us out totally, and we're still here. So that gives me that mindset, like I'm still here, but so that means I'm here for a purpose. And then since I'm still here for a purpose, for everything that tries to come up against me, I just look at it like, okay, so what are you here for? What is this situation am I going through for? Because it's
right.
serving a purpose. So I don't look at it
It's
as now as like,
crazy.
oh, it's attacking me, or it's trying to take me out. No, I'm gonna. What is you're showing up? Or that situation is showing up for a purpose, and what is it for? What I need to learn from it, what I need to take from it, whatever, and let it and just embrace it instead of try to fight it. Just have the peace about it. So that's
Right.
why
And
you have peace or understanding.
yeah, somebody said you never know like how many generations that you impact. Like right now, like I said, I want to be a New York State certified drug and alcohol counselor, and it's alcoholism and drug abuse can be generational, and it takes somebody to help believe in somebody to help break that cycle. So hopefully, I have that impact in future generations because somebody cared enough to be non-judgmental, but still try to help them through to get to where they need to be. See, my thing is you got to do what you got to do to get to where you want to be. So in
Hmm.
that, I hope that I'm like a building block for people, and yeah, so I think that's kind of my purpose. And I was wondering if Dave, if that was like one of the reasons why you became a counselor, or I don't really know. Because I know I mean, I've been through some things growing up. My stepfather was a alcoholic and a jerk, so I don't want people to uh, go through that same thing.
I mean, I always went for the underdog. So growing up, because I went through things, had some dark times growing up myself, and I'm not going to get into that right now because we're going to
Mhm.
be pressing for time. But I never wanted anybody to feel the pain that I felt growing up. So
Mhm.
when it was another kid that was like the underdog or was getting bullied or picked on, I always felt the need to kind of step out and be on their side and let them know, like, you're not in this alone, which kind of led me. Well, actually, I originally went to college and stuff for marketing and business, and it's funny how stuff go twofold, whatever. Because now, when you try to build your brand, that marketing and all that piece comes back into place. So I'm kind of getting the best of both worlds. I like helping and servicing others, but at the same time, still want to build my brand as well. So
Mhm.
and that's working itself on a daily basis. But you had said something about a drug and alcohol. It gave me a story, a quick story to tell. I was working at a rehab, and a couple of the people that came in there, you probably heard of Horizons Village. So when they came in there and
Yeah.
they would see me and they were like, "Oh man, damn dog, you fell off." I'm like, "No, man, I work here." And one of the guys was like, "Man, let me tell you something." He said, man, he's talking about my father because he suffered through addictions and stuff. And he was like, I'm telling you, man, if your father, that's when he was living. He said, if your father ever decided to get himself together, he would be the Michael Jordan of recovery. He's like, that was a bad mother. He said, smart as hell, but nevertheless, he never got himself together. But, I kind of walked away and say, damn, how am I supposed to feel about that? Like he's supposed to be the Michael Jordan of recovery. His ass shouldn't be doing drugs to begin with. But, I just thought that, that was always interesting. And sometimes certain places or situations, because at the one time, that's what I was going to go into. Not that I was addicted to drugs or alcohol, but I just found that population, you learned a lot from them just to see people struggle and then be on top and then struggle and then try to get back to that place. And I always felt in me like I want to help them, but then I went down the educational route, and now I'm crazy as hell. And yeah, you need a drink when you work in the school system all the time.
One of the really great
I was
things that
just
happened to
going
me on my
to say,
birthday was that people
I
started
was just,
calling me and it just happened by mistake. But these are, people that I hadn't talked to in a while. Like I keep in touch with everybody on Facebook. I'm talking about friendships that's over 30 years, and so a couple of them actually reached out and video chatted me like, hey, sis, we see you, it's your birthday. You look awesome. And wanted to reach out. But then what they they each shared, and this, like I said, this is completely unrelated. These were unrelated people that called me just throughout the day, but shared with me at least one thing that they remembered about knowing me, some impact that I've made on them, something that they were thanking me for, and that compelled them, to call me, on my birthday. And so, that just goes back into you never really know you go to, because some of the people told me I was so I don't swing or anything like that. It's just, they're reminding me of things that I've forgotten, you know what I'm saying, but that had an impact on them, that has ruled some things that they've done in their life. And it was humbling, and it was eye-opening, because just like I had that moment with my children are grown, for you all that don't know, and I have 3 grandbabies. And so when my daughter was 13, she had to do a paper on her hero, and I was her hero. And
did she
like
just
this
freeze
thing was,
right
she
there?
wanted to be just like me. When those of you who know my story, know that, me and my mother's relationship was very different, and my whole parenting was doing things the opposite of my mother. So to have my 13-year-old daughter, like what 13-year-old girl wants to be like her mother? Number one, want to be just like my mom when I grew up. And so a lot of people was like, oh, I was like, that's some fucking pressure, because now I gotta look in the mirror and make sure just like me is what I want for her to be, because kids don't see everything that we have to do, all the struggles and stuff that we're going through. And so, but it was humbling, and it made me aware your children are watching you. Even when you don't think they're watching you, they are watching you. You are teaching them, even when you ain't got no pencil and paper.
It's true. That's true.
Because she was able to recite. She like wrote this speech, and I'm sitting there just crying with everybody else. She crying, she reading this in front of school. She's recounting things that I didn't even know that she would notice, things that I've done. I didn't even know that she wasn't a dumb kid, but you know what I mean? Like, because most of the time you don't think your kid is really, really fucking get you, But she's recounting these things, and I'm sitting there, I couldn't stop crying. I'm just like, you know, she gets it, but like, damn, that's pressure, because now I got this kid. Now I know I got this kid, this girl, this female. So I can't be too bitter. I have to control my anger. I have to, teach myself how to deal with my emotions. I can't run from
They're
my
a product
emotions.
of
I
their
have to know
environment.
how to deal, because I gotta teach this girl. Right. Because I gotta teach this girl that I now know is looking at me. So
Yep.
like one of you said before, all of the talents and all of the things that I can do, They started off because I started off as a people pleaser, and the people I was trying to please my mother. Anything to get a kind word from her. I'm going to learn how to draw so that she can tell me it's just anything that I could do to get a kind word. Learn how to play the violin, learn how to draw, learn how to write, I started off being a people pleaser. That can be a very dangerous thing at a certain point in your life. Being a people pleaser, seeking, approval from people.
Yep.
Because most time people are very content to let you jump through every hoop you want to jump through.
Yep.
In order, because my mother was never going to be satisfied. But if he was in an abuse situation, if you are right now, that person's never going to be satisfied. Does not matter what hoop you jump through, doesn't matter what you do, there's always going to be another hoop waiting for you. So just right quick. But I got, like I said, this daughter, and now my son, he does that. He will call me, tell me about things that I didn't know he got. So these are the moments that you don't know that you need just as an adult, to know those things. You don't do things in order to get accolades, or you're not supposed to. And most of us here, I know all 6 of us here, when we do things for people, we're doing it from the heart. I'm not doing it to get anything in return, but at the same time, I also know that no good deed goes unpunished.
I'm about to be like Molly. I'm about to be like Molly on First Take. I don't know if y'all watch that on ESPN show. Listen, I got to go to work in the building tomorrow. We about to end this.
Okay, well, you do what you do.
We about to end this.
Do what you do. This is great.
I already know how this can go, and I'm
getting ready to finish my date. So yes, we can go.
And again, I always say, I don't mean to be rude, but we always know that stuff going to come back up again. These conversations, they just go around in a circle, and that's not a bad thing. So I'm going to need y'all closing comments for the night, and I'll be back on Thursday, and we'll see what that brings. Who wants to go first? Quickly.
I will. I love everybody. I love our Monday night. I love our Monday night discussions because it makes me feel empowered. It makes me feel like stronger. So it gives me something to look forward to. So I thank you all for sharing what you share. And I think life is like a Rubik's Cube, like you twist and turn to find the right combination. So it's interesting. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Anita, for sharing and being transparent. And we appreciate, always bringing insight and, your personal testimony. Okay.
And thank you, Julia, for the comment.
Herb said, LOL, Molly, LOL. So he knows who I'm talking about. And that's Jalen Rose's wife. And she's on the show with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. So,
okay. Now I know who you're talking about. I didn't know
I was
that.
Just going with it. Look, I was just going with it. Dave, right, Molly.
Well, I watch Stephen A. Smith, and I like.
If you know Stephen A. Smith, you know that. Yeah, you got to get somebody to shut him up, whatever. Like.
Yes.
All right. So who wants to go next? Lakia.
One of my favorite scriptures: "For God have not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind."
Okay. Scorpio T.
You already know what I'm gonna say.
Say it again, because somebody might not heard it.
To thine own self be true. To thine own self be true. To thine own self be true.
All right.
That's it.
And just by the way, in case y'all didn't hear it, to thine own self
be true.
Be true.
That part.
Right. Frolic T.
As always, it's a pleasure to come out here on Mondays and hang out with all you and have these adult conversations about everything under the sun. I look forward to these Mondays, and as always, one thing I say is, just be honest with people because nobody likes a liar.
All right.
Hey, Dave, can I give a shout out? We have somebody in the comments that said this is their first time here. So thank you, Julia, for showing up.
Oh,
thanks, Julia.
Thank you.
In. We here every
welcome,
Monday
Julia.
night.
I hope you enjoy.
Hello, hope you enjoy. Come back again.
And we have some Thursday. Not everybody shows up on Thursday, but hey, I still have a segment on Thursdays as well. All right, Soraya, mofo.
So y'all already know what I'm gonna say. Y'all could probably say it with me. Check yourself
Check yourself
more than you
more
check
than you
others,
check
and
others.
your life will open up. Check yourself. Because number one, nobody likes to be checked. So if you just check yourself, you can eliminate that. Number two, you cannot control or change anyone else except for yourself. So trying to check them is a moot point anyway. You're not going to change what somebody else does, but you can absolutely change how you respond to it. And then I'll add something else. Something that I started saying in the beginning, I stopped. But fair exchange is no robbery. But the problem is that most mofos is thieves. Try
Yeah,
not to be a thief going out
Anita's a crook too.
in here,
That's what we
okay?
heard tonight.
Work
But
on not being crooked Anita. Work on not being a thief. Fair exchange. That's it. Give give as give as much as you're looking to get. And that's it for me. That's what I have to say.
and
I'm gonna
one of
sit
these
back
days,
and enjoy the show.
and one of these days, I'm gonna challenge all of us to come with our T-shirts with our favorite lines from the show on, and we're gonna rock those.
Don't play with me because I'll make them.
I'm with
Don't
that.
play with me.
I'm with that.
I'll make them.
I'm with that.
All right, and so okay, Julia said I bought Carlos'
Got
book
it.
today. Good stuff, good stuff. I'm sure you're gonna appreciate it. And for me, closing words in. Sometimes the topic, you just never know where it's going to go. When Herb sent it to me, I'm like, I don't know about nobody want to talk about the obituaries and death and stuff, but I see the importance of it. And I think as you get older, you have to start thinking about mortality and different things like what you want, you know, how you want to end, like things that's on your mind, how you want to be perceived, how your legacy you want to leave with your children, your family, and stuff like that. So it's important to start walking a certain way. And the one key thing I always say, just be consistent in your approach. Be consistent. If you want to do something, be consistent with it. And I think that goes a long way. And when people have words to say, because they'll say that all the time. But one thing I could say about this, he always did this or she always did that. And especially if it's a good deed, that stuff will last them a lifetime and always will be engraved in their hearts, whatever. The consistency, especially if it's a good deed or not. So with that said, I'm not going to keep rambling on. We out of here. Y'all wish me
Wait,
well.
David.
Good night,
David,
everybody.
you're
Hey, good
required to
luck
say,
when you go.
you're required to give Herb's closing statement because we all know what it is too.
No, y'all tell me what it is.
He wrote in the comments too. Growth and understanding the current
Exactly.
gray area.
That happens in the gray area.
Godspeed. Good night.
Good night,
So
everybody.
that's it. Whatever.
Bye.
We'll close on that. All right.
Good
See y'all.
night.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. I'll be good. Have a good week.
You too.
All right.